Jarvan, technically they could pull off the same type of team composition, and TSM is going to be so tempted to just go Xayah Rakan right here, even with someone like Trist up. Very curious what they do.
Yeah, Xayah Rakan seems pretty likely. I actually really like Braum into Xayah Rakan. It's good against both of them for different reasons. When Rakan engages, you can block the damage afterwards. And Xayah, of course, needs that pass-through damage, and Braum blocks that as well. It actually completely removes the power of Blade Caller on the back end of it. So same dual lane for TSM. Immortals clearly not worried enough about that combo. They had outlaned it early game. They just got outplayed in the gank, so maybe they think they can beat it on the run back.
Yep, TSM happy to take a little CS deficit early on in the game. We'll see if they can actually have a smaller one this time around. Cody Sun goes back to the Kog'Maw, though. Something they have definitely found success with.
Yeah, and they could still do a Galio here if they want to. Now that they've banned out 5 mids and there's no Cinder to go against it, they think that would be the protection and initiation necessary to get a Kog to the late game. Still a lot of versatility left in the comp, though.
I'd be very perplexed a little bit if they don't jump on something like an Alistar to break up this combo. I mean, teams have found success in multiple champions to try and break through this Rakan initiation and break up this duo on the bottom side, but maybe if Immortals are happy to go through the second ban phase, then they might just go with a Lulu or something for another Ardent Sensor for Kog'Maw.
Yeah, you run an Enchanter or something back there. Yeah, curious to see what happens here in this one. Zac, though, I think this is a great pickup. Just is a great champion in general, and of course was banned in the last game, but it super loves to build high magic resist items. An Adaptive Helm and a Spirit Visage against a Kog'Maw 50-50 and a Corki who's like 90-10 on damage output. Adaptive Helm works against both these champions as well.
Yep.
The tanks can block so much of the Immortals backline damage.
Agreed. It does sack the early game a little bit, which can be risky against Kog if he does fall behind in the early game and Kog gets the item power spikes first. And it also leaves the door open for even more bans at mid lane. Immortals already locked in their mid lane, have the choice now of sending more towards Bjergsen. And we did mention that we're a little surprised that Immortals didn't go for something like Alistar for Olleh because he has been so dominant, but they're clearly confident with whatever he's got in his back pocket.
Mid lane ban number 6 as Vladimir's off the table.
Also something that's interesting with the Kog'Maw Corki combo, as much as it is nice for the other team to build magic resistance and adaptive helm and things like that, we rarely see multiple people benefit from Wit's End, but Kog'Maw can shred magic resist for Corki, who's been shifting even more towards the magic damage spectrum, so they might even rush through the Wit's End first item or something like that and try and play off of the Trinity Force Wit's End spike.
That's true. It would be a spike. Ironically, though, it makes Blade of the Ruin King better by being a physical damage item based on health, so it's like good against Spirit Visage, and there's just fun itemization choices here. Gragas off the table. Galio as well, to be fair, as that's mid lane ban number 7. Plus the pick from Immortals.
Immortals spending every single one of their mid lane bans against Bjergsen, and I feel like he still gets a good counter pick.
Yeah.
By locking in Kassadin. Kassadin is very good into Corki. His passive reduces magic damage. Corki, because he does so much magic damage, actually just doesn't have that much bully potential on the Kassadin in lane.
Yeah, the one thing would be, you talk about sacking the early game. They've got Zac, they have Kassadin lane, they have Xayah Rakan lane.
Yeah.
TSM are kind of giving way to the early game here and saying, Immortals, have at it. See what you can do. If you cannot snowball, you will lose.
That's true. There's no guarantee Xayah Rakan wins the bot lane. We don't know Olleh's champion just yet. There's a chance it works. And Tahm, Kench, Kog'Maw, not the strongest of lanes. I actually expect TSM's duo to have a bit of power on that one. And we'll see what their final pickup ends up being. Jarvan is still a flex right now. If he's top lane, he'll be more damage focused by a little bit. They might need that in the damage profile. Sejuani is going to be coming through in the jungle role, so triple frontline once again, but actually some physical damage out of Flame in the top lane will help that damage profile a bit.
And getting Flame back on one of the picks he succeeded the most on during the regular season. Oftentimes on Jarvan or Renekton, Immortals succeeded, but a classic pick for Xmithie in Sejuani. Not the most dominant early game jungler either, so a little bit of a mid-game spike that Immortals is going to be looking for.
In the match.
Also, Olleh is going to be working overtime on this Kog'Maw, trying to save people from the Rakan initiations, trying to save people from Zac Elastic Slingshot as well. Everybody's got to be looking on the ground for those shadows because he can't be everywhere at once.
Yeah, and the Renekton is to match the Jarvan as far as laning power here. The one fear for TSM, as you mentioned, Kobe, is the early game and the amount of range damage Immortals can do to turrets. So if TSM stumbles a little bit in the early game, there is a chance that Immortals can just rotate around, take multiple turrets early, hit the item power spikes, and just snowball the game. So TSM has to play defense and take it a little bit late.
See if they can get that late game coming online with the Kassadin and everything else. You see your lineups on the screen one more time, and a wonderful Boston crowd ready to cheer on their favorite teams as TSM and Immortals take to the Rift for game number 2. TSM's duo keeping the same champions as before. Immortals running 5 different if you count moving the role around. Quick shake of hands for these two coaches. Song new to the lineup and has certainly transformed the Immortals into a force to be reckoned with. But TSM may not be swayed. 1-0 up in the series, best of 5. TSM will be the first team in North America to win 3 straight titles and put their 6th trophy on their mantle. There have only been 10 splits, and it's going to be maybe number 6 for TSM out of this one. We'll see if they can make it happen. The crowd is ready, the fans are ready, and so are we, and so are the players to get themselves into game 2 of this best of 5. Immortals hoping to fire back before it's too late. Game 2 hitting the Rift.
I do think this Immortals team comp has a lot of potential. Oftentimes, the shove they could have in the early game can be a great bridge for Kog'Maw to hit that 2-3 item spike. And we've even seen Xmithie go Ardent Sensor on Sejuani. There's a chance he does that in this game as well if they're looking to apply that shield based on the CC that Xmithie can put out. But as we saw last game, there was an early game jump for TSM. They're running Rakan once again, but this time they're not sneaking him into the end of the jungle.
Yeah, and we'll keep a close eye on this early game, especially with Xmithie, with this Sejuani. I was talking to Xayah quite a bit about the early Sejuani openings and the frequency now of them actually starting with this Hunter's Machete for the extra single target damage and just going single target camps to try and get that level 3 very early.
Yeah.
And it actually does allow Xmithie to try and get out on that map and have an earlier presence than Zach does, who wants to get more levels in his elastic slingshot. And then once Bjergsen is level 6, he could try and get the mid lane.
2 CS for Pobelter. He is massive, 20 gold up, bonus XP as well. I don't know if it'll be enough to actually change level up patterns by any means, but
there is a chance that this means red buff, blue buff, and Scuttle Crab for Xmithie could net level 3 now that he's gotten a little bit of experience by assisting on those ward kills.
Yeah.
That is
Don't know the breakpoints well enough, but it's certainly not that
It's so
much
small, though, when they're all sharing.
Yeah. You got like 8 or something, you know. It's not 0. Quick stun comes in, and it's going to be a buff start for both these squads, getting leeches from their duo lanes. Xmithie going to knock down that red buff without much issue. See who can win in his mid lane battle as Bjergsen takes an auto attack first. The duo lane's going to get back to their side of the map without much difficulty.
Actually here, trying to play the ping game and decipher, there was a yellow ping from, I believe, TSM down onto the Raptors.
Yeah.
Theorizing that maybe Xmithie did start there, but again, with the Sejuani with the Hunter's Machete, you want to go for the single target. Your permafrost does a large amount of damage on single target camps, and right now he's leashing his blue back, trying to avoid the extra auto attacks.
Generally speaking, if you see the Talisman, the Sejuani will be trying to clear Raptors. If you see the Machete, pretty much just going for single target camps, relying on that huge burst they get from the permafrost stun to clear those 3 camps and get level 3 right away. Then they go and pull off their game.
Yeah, the permafrost auto attack does so much damage at the end of it all. You see Sven clearing away his camps quickly enough. Of course, Zach pretty good at AoE camps himself. Level 3 is there. The same for Xmithie. And the bonus XP, of course, doesn't matter. He took 3 big camps, then takes Scuttle, then looks to invade onto a Zach that often gets low in the jungle.
Yeah, and they're going to both have Smite if they end up fighting over this red buff. Svenskeren a little bit unawares, hasn't started on red, and Xmithie has no reason to know he's here, but he does find him.
Finds him for the damage output. A couple more autos to get the stun. He's got that. Won't quite get the passive, but does force Sven out of the jungle. Just a little bit. No, he goes back in to get some blobs.
Yeah, no surprise here. Zach being bullied a bit out of his own jungle early on is not in any place to try and fight that. Still gets to pick up a lot of the Krugs, though, as Xmithie goes to take the red.
And he's going to get it. There's actually no contest in this one. He's going to get all the burst damage he needs. Auto smite once the sun comes in. You can see he's timing it as well. And that's a buff steal out for Xmithie. Triple buff 3.5 minutes in.
Yeah, but the gold for the junglers is the same because you get so much gold from the Krugs and the Raptors. So Xmithie trying to make the most of having pushing mid lane against Zach.
Body Sun comes in, they get the dunk, and they get the first blood as well. Look at that, Xmithie getting the kill to Flame in the top lane.
Xmithie in the early game, highlighted here, and Sejuani is able to grab the last hit on that kill as well. We'll see how quickly he can get back out on the map and use that gold.
Yeah, I mentioned Sejuani, not the strongest early game champion. In the hands of Xmithie, though, I take it back. The 3 camp, all single target camps, getting the double buffs into this perfect dive.
Well, Flame here deserves a lot of credit. He's you know, level 4 on Jarvan, harassed Hauntzer down to 50% HP and pushed him under the turret in the matchup, able to really set this dive up.
Really, really great stuff out of them. I'm checking, and I'm pretty sure it was a Doran's Shield start from Hauntzer in the first place, and he still died despite a very defensive laning item.
I mean, look at Flame CS, already off to an extremely good start on that top side. So identifying that area of strength now, Immortals should continue to play around the top triangle of the map and have their bottom lane a little bit more defensive and just go for CS.
Yeah, the 28th First Blood Xmithie has participated in regular season plus playoffs, the most of anyone in the LCS. So trying to put his stamp on this game, and I think you're right, Kobe, in going back for Hauntzer. One thing is they didn't burn the flash, so Hauntzer still has that. The pressure's going to stay on, though.
No wards. They don't know that he's waiting around on this wing, and there was a couple of... Oh, gets spotted. Now Xmithie. Peekaboo. No dive to be had, and he spent his time going for this. His wolves are up right now, so he's losing a little bit of potential gold as a result, but knows what to be had. Nice little attempt. Flame goes in for the trade, gets some damage, but Hauntzer hitting it back pretty well.
Yeah, mid lane just going to be a bit of a farm off, but Pobelter should be shoving for a lot of it. Svenskeren's here for a counter gank, potentially.
Down, gets an Arctic Assault in and forces him away for this one. Bjergsen pretty okay as well, and still going to start on these Raptors. Would be careful. You've got a Xmithie coming for you.
Xmithie with the casual 2v1 while the rest of his team cleans up the minions in mid lane.
Xmithie's going to get most of the gold of this camp. No, Sven just walks in and attacks him a few times, shatters the Arctic armor and gets the permafrost hit as well, and Sven seems fine.
Also, look at all the deep vision now Immortals are putting into the top side. Talk about top triangle versus bottom triangle. Immortals completely taking over this red side of the jungle, going for the counter jungle on the Krugs as well is an extremely high value.
All right, well, be careful. Hauntzer's level 6, and it's a level 4 Xmithie, but doesn't want to pop the ulti. He knows Flame is around. But Hauntzer's first to 6. Flame actually has to knock some minions down before he gets that ulti.
Yeah, and looking at the goal between the two junglers, Xmithie only 100 gold ahead of Svenskeren, who's still clearing this Krug camp. So this has been a much different game plan for Immortals, and it was successful in the fact that it got first blood. But beyond that, not much has been gained for Immortals.
Nice little trade as well by Bjergsen in the mid lane. He knew Xmithie was far away and got to go for an aggressive Rift Walk. But yeah, I gotta say, the top lane farm is within 3. As you mentioned, the jungle gold pretty close as well. And so despite a first blood being worth 500-600 gold, it's much closer than that in actual gold income right now. Sven on a ward. Flame should be fine here. And then with that wave pushing, that Sven can always wait around, and Flame might not be allowed to get any farm. Xmithie gonna find him. Immune to slows, grabs them all.
I'll take those, please.
Thanks,
One
buddy.
of the best parts of Sejuani.
And Malzahar. All right, knock up onto Olleh. They go for the tank into this one. And jump right back out. Look at the trade power there. This is the kind of damage up that the TSM duo has. Looking at that farm lead, plus 15 for TSM. Here comes the engagement as Red as Xmithie wants to come around. Does not have the ulti, will land a couple of slows. One more hit gets the stun. Do they have the burst damage? They almost get Bjergsen, but he does get to Rift Walk away at 300 health.
Summoner Spell Discipline wants to save that flash, was waiting on his Rift Walk cooldown and has Svenskeren in his back pocket to avoid this dive. Bjergsen is trying to maximize his farm without opening up the Corki to roam. A little bit of danger there as he is so low without teleport. The Pobelter can roam to make a play.
He doesn't have much mana, but he is heading down to the bottom side for some honey fruit here to refill.
It's a very small window, but has to worry about Zach as well.
Yeah. Knows that the threat does have his Valkyrie layable and 270 mana to spend, so he's fine with that. Right now, Immortals are going to lick their wounds again. The farm deficit 13-ish for the Immortals duo. Certainly a much less strong laning phase with Kog and Tahm Kench, but damage output can be there, and frontline continues. Pobelter can also join the fray. Nice knock, but that's going to put him in turret range. Gets the shield, he's not in too bad of a shape. Out they go once again.
DoubleLift hit 6 first, and Biofrost will be 6 shortly, so the potential for a play is there. Depends how well they're timing the teleports of Immortals as well. Flame and Pobelter both without, while Hauntzer does have his if a big fight breaks out, but that's only going to be true for the next 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, a lot of recalls actually being synced up for TSM right now. They're not looking to play aggressively anywhere on the map with both jungle and mid lane in the base.
There's something worth pointing out with TSM. Hauntzer actually took the reduced Summoner Spell cooldown mastery, so he's got 45 seconds advantage against Flame when TPs are matched. So I actually expect TSM to try to play around this window more and more. They had done similar TPs before, and they're still in that window of Hauntzer having TP and Flame not.
Hauntzer has done a good job of stabilizing even after that first blood dive from Xmithie. Just doing just fine in CS here. And as you said, ready with the teleport. They can answer very easily on the bottom side, but Xmithie wants to bring it once again back to the top.
Finds a ward though on the way, and at least it's a swing of 105 gold for killing one and proving the other, but still an equal gold game right now, and Sven waiting in the wings. He's gonna find Flame. Woo, nice little juke in the auto attack. Means not a lot of follow through. Gets rid of the passive, and here comes Corki! And he gets pushed right back in though with the let's bounce, pulls him to the turret, stays alive. Xmithie now part of the fray. But be careful. TP up, you can't kill him.
Towards the turret, but there were minions there already.
Hauntzer flash stun, they got him in turret range! Absolute perfection out of Hauntzer, that was so immaculate! The train kill comes in, but watch out, the CC is coming across, and it's more kills coming up. The ulti in doesn't really matter, a 3-for-1 advantage TSM, they completely crushed that fight under the turret.
Oh my goodness, Hauntzer goes down in the end, but he nabs the kills before he does. Big play.
What a massive defense there for TSM. And much like in game one, it's Immortals trying to walk into TSM and TSM being ready for it. So Svenskeren misses the initial skill shot, but then as the package comes in, times the ultimate just right, grabbing both of them into turret range, flashing afterwards to buy time for Bjergsen's arrival. Immortals is confident because they have Olleh coming up the river, but the flash stun from Hauntzer, huge.
Then Olleh comes in as well, arrives on the top Kench, but it doesn't matter. Bjergsen is here, nice AoE combo there, and Olleh arrives just to die.
And Svenskeren being low at the turret doesn't matter. He still has Zac passive, and because Hauntzer had saved his teleport, there was no way to kill the Bloblets if you do a dive like that, as long as Bjergsen is coming up the river to threaten. So just a very good execution of a defense there by TSM.
Immortals very eager to try and continue to pressure on this top triangle, continue to get more out of the TSM jungle, but definitely paid for that one. And now it's a healthy gold lead in the early game for the TSM squad. Bottom lane, earn theirs their own. Top side has kind of righted itself.
It is going to be the Wit's End rush out of Cody Sun. Nothing else builds out of those items he's got in his inventory, so he's going to go for the Magic Shred. Speaking of that, Bjergsen shredding out some of the health bars of Pobelter. Got about 400 on that Corki right there as he pokes back and forth and doesn't want to take another null sphere for the face. 1200 gold to TSM. Nice knockup. Just kidding. It's Olleh who pulls him away. Puts him back in the belly. Out they go. Foul flash works so well.
Such a subdued pace in the bottom lane compared to game one, where they just get to play with a 2v2 down there instead of having jungle intervention all the time.
And again, just stopped out by Olleh. That's an ulti down, and really no damage to speak of against Cody Sun. Some disrespect, but here comes the attempt. Pobelter getting away with the Valkyrie, just had the mana pool for it. And gets Svenskeren at a half HP, but there's no one around to stop him.
They did see, I believe, Xmithie up on the ward that's in their own jungle. So they know that Xmithie, has passed by the top side. And that's why Svenskeren goes for that dive even between the two turrets.
Flame still wants to battle up against Hauntzer in this one. Going to see what kind of damage he can deal, because now Xmithie's in the fray and he's going to start stacking up the possible stuns. The flash and chase with the W, they're going to get the damage out, but the stun going to break as well. And despite the ulti pop, he's got no way out. I believe the ulti even popped for Xmithie to guarantee it comes through.
Yeah, he was getting the double freeze there, and the only way to do that is to hit with your first one and then use the ultimate to get the second stun. So Xmithie did that just right.
Will they try and actually stay at the turret for first turret gold? TSM are taking the opportunity to start a Dragon in trade.
Now, a 13-minute Ocean Break, not bad at all as the wave comes in. This should be the turret dying on this wave, which is why they're keeping Xmithie around. We know there's no rotation coming out for Bjergsen, so it'll be a trade of first turret for a fairly early Ocean Break, as the Immortals have put so much pressure towards Flame, trying to have him win his matchup. The gold shred across the two.
I mean, Xmithie has had a laser focus in both games 1 and 2 on completely different lanes. And in both, it did net them first turret, but at a pretty large cost. The kills are going back over to TSM. You can see Bjergsen is healthily into his laning phase, almost hitting level 11 for that first reduced cooldown on Riftwalk. And TSM has the first Drake. So the overall result of Xmithie's switched focus has been pretty much the same between games 1 and 2.
Solid defense from TSM so far in this series. Right now, though, tied in gold, and Recall's putting it safely for a lot of these players. Kog'Maw back in base. Cody Sun gets his Wit's End. Building towards his next item. Could be almost anything that goes into his build normally, but that's the first item spike in. Of course, Olleh not going to get an Ardent Fence anytime early, so no double spike with that.
Question is always, once they get the first turret down and top lane is pushed in, what can Immortals do to keep up the pace? You get a little bit of tempo advantage there with topside pushing, and now Flame gets to roam the map, but where can they actually force? Bjergsen on Kassadin with Flash and level 11, as you said, very mobile, and it's very hard to force on him. So it looks like they're actually just kind of doing some ward work here.
Gonna find a friend, says hello to Bjergsen, Riftlock gets him away. Takes some damage, doesn't care about the rest of it though. Taking a Kassadin at this point could be impossible, even as the chain for more CDR plus level 11, so that's a very short Riftlock cooldown. But here comes the Bastion once again. Flame and Xmithie putting a lot of time together. Nice stun for Hauntzer, and then back out he goes.
Found a Jarvan. Don't necessarily want to stay in enemy territory. Jumps right back out. And this is actually the first 15 minutes that TSM wanted. They had a low wave clear mid laner. They had the disadvantaged early game jungler. And they've still gotten their farm in a pretty good place. Bjergsen now free to potentially go and make some plays down bottom where they, TSM, have the initiation advantage.
So the next play ends up being then is this, again, Kassadin online. Can get the wave clear going. Xmithie over the side. You see Pobelter really trying to bait in something, saying, please trade with me, use Riftlock. He won't do it. Bjergsen, no, goes in for this one, but this time he's out of range of where the Sejuani could be, and Riftlock is back up. You can see he just wins these trades against Pobelter. Porters do not want to delay their Hex Drinker, or sorry, delay the Trinity Force with a Hex Drinker, so no MR yet on him.
22, both junglers waiting for the other to gank there, watching the mid lane trade. He who makes the first move in those situations can be punished. There goes Sven.
Blocks out the Valkyrie, but doesn't land the knockback just yet. Looks for the next play, though. Pulls an Xmithie. Here comes the big trade in towards Pobelter. But a forced flash out. The stun's going to land, though. They're going to land it all together. The TP is up, though. They can buy some time. Do they use it? Yes, they do. Teleports come in from both, actually. And they're going to see what happens in the bot lane now as he chops up one, but can't get the kill. The trade on the Zac in the mid lane did come through, but at the end of the day, it's TSM again. They both TP'd to try to stop it. Hauntzer shows up, but gets not much for it.
Still a big play down bottom 2v2. Everyone on the map fighting at the same time right there, but Svenskeren pulling Xmithie in is exactly what Xmithie wanted during that fight. So now they're trying to push mid, but TSM, since they won the bot lane fight, are roaming up.
And Kog can't join. It's a 4v3 if an engage does come through from Hauntzer. There's got to be some respect out of Immortals, but it's actually Riftlock backwards, so no engage to be had.
Well, they see Biofrost heading up and trying to clear all these wards through the jungle, but DoubleLift is headed back to the bottom lane. It looks like the action will dissipate for now. Immortals, though, could want to stick around for some turret damage, and that might be punished.
Yeah, we'll see. Flame right now going to stay with the crew. Pobelter a bit injured as Blue Buff is timed out. Of course, with this Ocean Drake, Bjergsen keeps sustaining up between these forays. Still more damage to the turret. Xmithie going to come frontline a little bit as well, but the minions are gone, and this turret yet to go down. That poke's still adding up.
Yeah, and they know they burned both teleports, and they had both teleport users defending and forcing them back to recall. So if these recalls complete, Immortals knows they can finish that mid turret.
I'm going to stay, but that's going to be kind of the risk, though, is lots of gold in their pockets. As TSM resets, they've got better items, so yes, this turret will fall, and perhaps Immortals were grabbing it here 2-0 in turret's 500 gold lead, but they've still got to use that gold at some point. They haven't backed in a while. A bit of a stun and a Biofrost, so the chase continuing for Xmithie. No ulti quite yet available. The slows are landing. They might get in the flash force. The dunk, though, still going to come through from downtown. Flame takes him out.
They're going to have gold, and they also are going to have map territory here. With all the outer turret advantage to Immortals, they're going to be able to get those deep wards, see TSM's movements, and continue to go for picks just like that one.
Yeah, the Rift Herald sack of time from TSM as well is opening up Immortals for the third turret. Getting the outer three turrets really opens up the map if they're able to go around and make plays. They still have the Abyssal Voyage from the Tahm Kench as well if TSM moves up in those lanes now. So this game just got real dangerous for TSM.
It did. 1,700 gold lead. Immortals going to start cashing in that money. Watch this mid lane fight again from way back when.
Once again, as we talked about, the one that goes first here can be punished really heavily in these plays. Svenskeren has to flash ultimate out there, but Xmithie nails him with the double stuns, and they're able to clean up that kill. Even after the teleport does delay it, he's still going to be in range, and Flame saved his dunk there. Looks like he got 4 points in the last couple minutes.
Some miscommunication by TSM, only needed one of those teleports to channel, and then as Immortals was trying to join,
and they're going to catch him again. Hot out in the top river. Zac, one with the earth again.
Xmithie's Sejuani has been very clean this game. He's consistently getting the permafrost stun and then getting the ultimate off. You have to be really ahead of the play in order to make that happen, obviously, because you have to get close to them, stack up the stun, detonate it, and then hit the second, but it's so much more damage from the combo for him, and it's setting up most of, if not all of Immortals' kills.
It's such an interesting race here, because Immortals are playing to their comp.
There's the flash out. Bjergsen has the ulti up in a couple seconds, and he's going to be safe for that one, but still, look at this damage in the turret. Immortals really turning up the pace.
Definitely pressing ahead. They continue to find the picks. They continue to pressure for turrets as well.
And for shields, turret's still going to fall. That's 4-1 in turret. TSM duo got theirs the bot lane. They had won the lane. They deserved that, but Immortals could be farther ahead.
TSM's bottom lane is kind of the shining hope for them. DoubleLift and Biofrost have been the ones earning the advantages. They've taken the turret now so they can join the rest of the team. We'll see if it's going to be enough to keep them safe. The Immortals Death Squad has been on a roll.
And TSM has to find a way to get vision of Xmithie or Flame. Those are the guys who are making the plays start for Immortals. And Svenskeren is way off counter jungling when this play actually starts. It's the Abyssal Voyage that cuts him off. Cody Sun and Olleh fly in. It changes Svenskeren's direction. It gives enough time for Pobelter to get close. Olleh then flashes for the slow, and pretty much it's just a numbers advantage. The whole reason Immortals gets that kill.
TSM, though, back on the map. They're rushing down for this Cloud Drake, and they should be able to add this one without much issue. So another non-combat Drake added to the mix, but it might help them get into or out of fight sometime later on. The Golden lead, I should say, still remains for Immortals.
And TSM kind of trying to stack advantages up for the late game. Bjergsen starting the split push with teleport right now. A heavy focus on the Rift Herald as well as the Drakes. The Drake buffs never go away. The Rift Herald's going to have to be used in a few minutes and probably won't net them much with the map pressure Immortals has, but they're definitely in a holding pattern right here. And the one thing that did give Immortals such pressure to take those last few turrets was when TSM tried to get aggressive, whether Svenskeren was initiating or trying to counter jungle. So TSM actually needs to play a little bit more passive until they can find the right fight.
And Immortals trying to make sure they can line up their lanes appropriately. Both teams this time around running double teleport. Flame right now tasked with handling Bjergsen. Both are going to be maybe holding the other side of the map or joining with the crew. Right now it's a 1-4. And they're going to let bot lane be pushed in by Hauntzer if he wants to. Immortals now grouping up around this Baron. It is available. Hauntzer does have TP. Control Word of the Pit means TSM now blinded in this side of the map.
This is how they found their success, grouping up, roaming as the four-man squad, finding picks on the lone TSM members. But now Bjergsen catches sight of them. TSM can play accordingly. He slips into the Baron even to clear out the vision they just placed.
And it's worth pointing out right now that even though there's an Ardent Sensor done for Biofrost, DoubleLift has not recalled in a very long time. He has a couple thousand gold in inventory right now. Cody Sun's already got his Hurricane Spike. Mid lane gonna be pushed in, but if there's a fight happening, DoubleLift is under-itemized right now. As the Rift Girl's gonna push in, get plenty of damage down. It will die, but gets half the mid lane outer turret.
That also does draw out the Abyssal Voyage of Olleh to defend here. So that is one of the tools that Immortals have been using to try and get these picks. And TSM may have bought themselves a little bit of time with that push, even though they don't get the turrets. Xmithie wants a piece of Svenskeren, but he'll just have to settle for chicken.
That's two straight defensive ultis out of him, and nice smite by Xmithie grabs the big chicken. This smite's gonna be back up before too terribly long. They just can't rush Baron just yet. Looks to be engaged though. Actually, Sven wants in. Gets a bit of damage, knocks them together. Here comes the charm, the knockup as well. The rest of the team gonna join in. TP coming in just now for Flame. Do they have the damage over the big storm? Gonna rage on, do plenty of damage. Sven right back into the mix yet again. By the storm knocked out, and now into Bloblets. Hauntzer already part of the mix. And the front line taking plenty of damage. Gonna knock him down. Yes, one kill on a Sven. And then dunk into the back line. They get a double kill out for Pobelter. Looking for a second championship, but a knock up there. The re-engage for Hauntzer. Looks for the stun, does pick up Olleh. Running away, but he's gonna still lose his life, and now Biofrost gonna fall. 4-1 advantage Immortals.
That's exactly what Immortals wanted. They've been poking around for a fight, and Svenskeren gave it to them.
Especially when Svenskeren uses his ultimate to escape with the Raptors to then fight right afterwards. Immortals knew this was the fight to go all in, and they bide their time during that fight as well. Flame holds his Cataclysm until exactly the right moment, and they get 4 kills plus the Baron.
They know there's no threat. DoubleLift doing the best he can with his time to push down mid. He does actually manage to knock down mid outers as falls, but a smite comes through for Xmithie, and a Baron picked up as early as it was last game. This time, though, for Immortals.
Xmithie is now 2 levels above Svenskeren after the fight. We're going to replay right now. Sven goes in, he gets the double knockup, and Biofrost does use the combo from Rakan super early on, so they're left without a lot of control. Then the re-engagement. Sven is so low, he immediately gets popped, but Flame goes offensive for Immortals.
And then Flame actually flashes back TSM moves forward, then he gets a 3-man ultimate. The damage applied to all 3, still able to stay in the front line. Pobelter gets his second Valkyrie of the fight. Hauntzer doesn't have enough damage to finish him off with the stun, and those small advantages Immortals had been accruing in items, and the fact that DoubleLift hadn't shopped, even though he was in a position to free hit for much of that fight, paid off for Immortals in a big way.
I think he had just barely by the time that fight came through. His Hurricane gave him 4,000 damage on this one, but now the re-engage coming across, going to find a couple of knockups. Looking to knock down Olleh, gets the shield up in time and stays alive. The Charm running back to the back line, and nothing with the left bounce either. The fight has continued as Pobelter wants to chase in towards this Zac at half HP. Going to push Svenskeren away, chases in towards DoubleLift. The crit coming in for plenty of damage. Now Bjergsen joins the fight for a slow as well. Here comes Xmithie. Can they get the stun? Not quite just yet, but the health bar is so dangerously low out of this as Xmithie still holds the front line, and they all stay alive as Flame pushes the bot lane.
Fight's very critical while Baron is active because the turret kills afterwards can come so quickly thanks to the Baron-empowered minions. Very important that no one on TSM died there, as they will be able to heal up and prevent an absolute disaster, even though Immortals now with full control.
This is a huge, huge sweep for Immortals. A lot of gold income for them to really extend this lead. It was getting a little tenuous there for a moment, but they've cleaned the map of TSM turrets. Only the inhibitor ones remain standing.
And look at this one, 6-2 in turrets on this Immortals. Doing such an amazing job in the mid game. Baron buff still on for a minute and a half. They've got a lot of room still to work with if they want to. Pobelter even better at killing turrets, has a rapid fire cannon done. Rage Blade soon for Cody Sun.
Immortals have been able to lead around a bunch of wards as well before they exited TSM territory, so it should be very simplistic for Immortals to set up for the next Drake. It is just a Cloud Drake, but they do want to get back on the board and kind of break the TSM hold on the Dragons.
Absolutely. See, Sven gets away. This is actually the second blue buff in a row he's had to grab. Bjergsen's never been around to take it. He's been pushing top lane for the last 5 minutes roughly, so not optimal situation. So CDR, of course, not a bad stat on Zac. Cloud Drake up in 15 seconds. Baron buff still on for a minute. And we'll see as the team has grouped towards the bottom middle side of the map. See if Immortals can get anything with this.
Yeah, Xmithie has been everywhere this game. 90% kill participation, and they still have about a minute on this Baron, but need to get multiple waves crashing at the same time if they want to crack the inhibitor line of TSM. The package being up right now for Pobelter does make him fairly confident. They're getting a decent chunk of damage early on.
Fine for themselves, back and forth, damage up coming through, and just the wave clear, but that turret's down to half HP.
This is definitely a peak in Immortals' power. The huge gold difference now, just spiking with the Baron buff. Package is actually down, but they've got another wave to push with.
Gonna get a lot of damage on this one. Turret down to 2/3 so far. Who wants to engage from TSM? Pretty much nobody. Is Baron timing out in a few seconds, but they finish the turret in time. The engage comes across. They found Corki. They've got him. The shutdown comes through on a Pobelter, and it's now the fight. 5v4. Can they get more? Catapult comes across, but Bjergsen getting the kill to Cody Sun. Only 3 left alive. Another knock-up in for Biofrost, but it's Olleh on the wings trying to buy some time. Now the disengage for the IMT tanks. The solo lane in the jungle trying to run away, and they will survive, but a 3-for-0 to TSM right as Baron falls off.
And it was DoubleLift who snuck enough feathers behind Pobelter and Cody Sun to get the root while they were greeting for that turret. Such a critical turn here as Bjergsen picked up a couple of kills, and they still want Xmithie.
Xmithie forced to ult to buy some time, still to flash, get away, and then the Arctic Assault, or like an Arctic Retreat, gets away with it.
This TSM duo lane is pulling them back into it. TSM with a very critical hold at the inhibitor turret there. That one was about to go down, and Immortals didn't even have the time to pick up that Drake.
Yeah, those turrets heal TSM now even faster with the secure of this Cloud Drake. Absolutely keeping themselves in the game with that fight because of the power spikes that Immortals is going to be hitting. We'll get to that later. Watching this one more time. DoubleLift, just a few autos, gets the root onto both the Corki and the Kog'Maw. Olleh can only eat one. The Biofrost initiation comes in afterwards to get up the charm, and that is just over from that point.
Yeah, that is the dream scenario for the TSM teamfight squad. DoubleLift and Biofrost come up big, then it makes the follow-up from the Kassadin, from the Zac, very easy for them to do. See what now TSM can actually hold the rest of the map because the vision has still gone dark. Even though they chased off Immortals, they're working with a very, very dark map.
Immortals still has a 4,000 gold lead, but they are now up against 3 Drakes instead of 2. The Rage Blade being completed onto Cody Sun is massive, but Bjergsen is yet to complete Lichbane. I think that's going to be a huge moment. Level 16 plus Lichbane for the Kassadin means he can kill the Kog'Maw.
And DoubleLift now has Infinity Edge. That's the supreme power spike for Xayah right now. He can cut through the squishies so much more easily now. We'll see what can come through into this one. There's not a lot of armor yet on the Immortals front line, so I like his prioritization so far. Mid lane under fire, and you can see this turret just withering under the attacks. 2 more hits.
Immortals still want to fight, and they have the flank from Jarvan.
Early feathers from the disengage, though. Can there be a refight now as Immortals have the ultis available to find themselves the dive? Flame at half HP. Pops the stone plate, though. That is his tank stats now gone.
Yeah, that's huge, actually. Stone plate actives are one of the biggest things keeping the tanks, keeping those front lines alive in these team fights. See if that happens.
To the slow, 3,000 gold difference. Out goes Bjergsen. Ardent Sensor done a while ago for Biofrost. Gets those buffs in.
Yeah, and super important to get wards down for flank teleports from Flame. That Jarvan getting a flank onto DoubleLift is a huge moment for this game. Just 2,000 gold, Baron being up in 40 seconds. It's all going to revolve around that zone, which Immortals now controls with wards.
They can bait the vision properly. It's easier for us as spectators to see what they're doing, what they're not, but TSM often will have no idea. But they're able to push in top first. This will create even extra pressure. There's always the option to forsake Baron and push top instead if the wave gets to the right place. You can see Immortals, via the vision deficit, able to push the waves first. They have even more room to work with, as at some point TSM have to walk over here and take these minions over. And that gives time for Immortals to ward or sit in fog and look for the next play like this. Biofrost can't go much farther. Sven's going to be the one to go in front. And you can see that could have been a knock-up onto a support. That could have been a kill, but Sven was the intelligent one to go forward. Wards fought back and forth as TSM control their red buff, but not much farther.
Bjergsen making some headway down on the bottom side with the split push. But Immortals just really focusing on controlling the vision around Baron and leading up to it. Now he's even coming in for a flank, but he's passing over wards as well.
The attempt, and they know it's a fog of war. There's no guarantee this is happening. Blue Trinket used at the right time. Sven is around the wings. Can Olleh stop him? He's not going to go for it just yet. And they're going to get the elastic slingshot to come out. He is going to dive into this one. Here comes the team fight. Flame's going to disengage. Nice knock him out of the back lane. They pull in Olleh. The counter goes to pull him right back in. Look at the damage of it. They've knocked down Biofrost. But the fight continues with Olleh dropping out of health. But no, a double kill first. In the back lane, trade it back. It's all the damage on a Hauntzer. Staying alive, but it's Cody Sun still able to hit. And he's killed everybody on this one. Only 2 dead for Immortals. The ace coming through cleanly, and Baron is a formality.
Full stack Rage Blade Kog'Maw is not the one that Bjergsen goes to assassinate. The double marksman, Bjergsen killed Pobelter, could not get Cody Sun, and Olleh just ate all the damage at the start of that fight for the front line of Immortals.
That is a tanky Tahm Kench, and that is going to be a Baron on 3 members of Immortals.
Watching this one more time, Svenskeren makes the choice to go for the fight. He doesn't get the knock-up and ends up taking a lot of damage. And Biofrost's initiation was beautiful. He gets a 4-man charm, but is killed on the way back out.
Instantly taken down on the retreat, and DoubleLift as well gets locked up with Svenskeren. Once DoubleLift is down, Bjergsen's the only big damage threat that Cody Sun has to worry about. They kite out Hauntzer, and they take him down for the ace.
A red buff and 100 magic resist makes it a little bit easier to stay alive against that Kassadin. You can see almost 6,000 damage out of Cody Sun. Only now getting lifesteal for himself, but he has the Cutlass. Just not enough damage can be dealt by TSM to break through everything.
Even with dying relatively early, DoubleLift still pumps out 4,000 damage in that fight. Critical to note, he still has flash, as does Pobelter. So the next assassination attempt on him, if he's not chain CC'd, he should be able to flash away from.
Immortals already heavily weakened this bottom side turret though, and they're returning to the site of the team fight. TSM were able to sneak through the feathers. See if they can do it again. Only a couple of shots left.
So that's the turret falling, so there's a lot less distance to cover. The first blade color already used. Now the inhibitor open, and normally a team will not defend when the turret's already gone, but they're gonna go for this one. Knock him out of Olleh, let's bounce. Only pulls in the support though. He's gonna pop the shield, stays alive. A nice storm comes across. That's gonna be the first kill. And Hauntzer's dead. There's no backline threat anymore. As the second kill comes in, Rakan is gone. And Immortals with the double kill on Cody Sun, looking to make it keep happening. But it's a knockup with the flash from Flame on a Bjergsen. 3 kills so far, and it's only the backline left, and he can't do much with it as the double actually came through for Flame. And DoubleLift can now only watch as suddenly it's going to be Immortals picking up the kills in the Nexus turrets. Looking to knock down the minions 5v1. I'm not sure he can do this one. Brothers from the buy some time. Wants to kill Flame. No blade call yet to be had, though. And Pobelter looking to kill him. His ex-teammate from 2 teams ago onto the turret. As the turrets fall, the Nexus now laid bare, and Immortals gonna tie up the series 1-1, hoping to be and gain that first championship.
We have ourselves a series here at the TD Garden. Immortals have arrived That was such a strong performance by Xmithie, completely changing his goals from game 1 to game 2. Does get kills in the early game, but specifically finding the mid-game fights. They could not get good initiations onto TSM in game 1. That changed in a big way here in game 2.
The differences in front lines was huge in this game. Incredibly tanky Olleh there with the Abyssal Voyage, able to make a lot of the picks in the mid game, assists with Xmithie, starting out a lot of the fights, as well as Flame on this Jarvan. Continually jumping in and out of that front line. Really good management of health by those 3 members, whereas on TSM side, as soon as one of them went in, they would either get annihilated or Svenskeren would be bouncing back to the team with nothing in hand.
Yeah, and Svenskeren was never really able to get a let's bounce onto anyone, right? He'd always miss and then try and ult out for safety. So, as you mentioned, the front lines just so critical for Immortals. Flame 5-0-14 on that trademark Jarvan. You can say he has a somewhat smaller champion pool, but when he's on his champions, he can crush.
Yeah, when he's playing the champions, he's lit right there. Flame doing well for himself, and 5-1-14 from Xmithie also good. It's reference to a Flame.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to the analyst desk, who can speak better than I can. Dash, take it away.
Thank you very much.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a pretty good punt
yeah.
until he explained it. Anyway, thank you very much, Phreak. We got to welcome our guest here, Gordon Hayward, to the desk. Congratulations, first of all, on the announcement just this past Friday. How does it feel to be in your new home?
It feels great to be here in Boston. Can't wait to actually suit up and play out there, but loving the event today. Happy to be here.
Getting a little bit of a preview of all the energy that you're going to feel while you're down here on the
loud
court.
in here.
It absolutely
I've noticed
does.
that.
It absolutely does. Mark, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm very excited. I'm a Celtics fan. I grew up watching in Section 8, so I'm going to have a new person to root for next season. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, very much so. Well, the NBA
Make sure you lose to the Raptors.
No.
I don't know about that.
No, we don't need that.
Tracy
Anyway,
McGrady still there?
all right, guys, let's pull back in. Let's talk about this best-of-5 series at hand, because Immortals taking this, evening it up at 1-1, gives us a real best-of-5 here for the finals. I'm coming straight to you again, Gordon, on your thoughts here. Adjustments out of Immortals moving into game 2, a lot more damage heavy. You like to see that?
I like to see it. Yeah, it seemed like they started off the game a little bit better than they did the previous one, and they kind of controlled it till the end. Got a little nervous there in the middle.
Exactly. It's a classic Immortals. They got to give you one little bit of a heart attack there somewhere in the middle of the game.
Well, it's like you're talking about. That's kind of is their strength that we've talked about. Xmithie and Olleh in the early game have been so strong, and that's the way that they are probably going to win games against TSM if they can take it.
I mean, I like what they did just with the draft. They gave a lot more autonomy to Flame up in the top side here, and instantly that pays off for them with that first blood in the top lane in a counter-pick matchup. That was huge for them, gave an extra pressure point on the map that they could run within the early game.
And I think that's the key thing, right? Having more options. We talked about the one-track mindset in game 1. They go to more of a 3-track mindset here in game 2. Let's pull up our first replay, 9:40 into the game. 3 for 1 in favor of TSM in the top lane.
Yeah, like we were just saying, not everything's smooth with Immortals, though. They want to keep trying to push this advantage that they built in the top side. It starts out with a good chunk onto Svenskeren, but there's just a bit of a brain fart here by Pobelter, honestly, where the minions are getting killed, and he thinks he's safe to walk through this turret. He still has Valkyrie available, so he has a false sense of security, but a great flash W on Hauntzer, locks him up with turret aggro, makes sure he's going to go down here, and then Bjergsen's on his way up to keep chasing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it could have been a good play had Xmithie or Flame been tanking the turret for him, but Pobelter, a bit of a mistake, and Xmithie, they're going to get actually punished by Hauntzer, who had a really great play.
Yeah, very much so. But now, let's push ahead to where Immortals grabs control of the game. Acer replay here. Acer Predator replay. 22-30 into the game. 4-for-1 fight around the red buff. Going to get him a Baron on the back end of this.
Multiple members of Immortals are going to play this pretty well. Starts out with TSM trying to find a look onto a couple of the carries of Immortals, and they just don't find a good opening. Just a really nice wall by Xmithie. And during this time, Flame is slowly going to start wrapping around from the top side. So that jump by Sven doesn't hit anybody. DoubleLift and Bjergsen starting to get zoned away, and then here comes his teleport by Flame.
Yeah, and I mean, the positioning from Cody Sun was so good, actually just kiting backwards towards the red buff, making it so TSM had to funnel in towards them, and they could never actually get back to that hyper carry to really get onto the Kog'Maw.
Now, Gordon, what's your take on the way that this game unfolded from the side of TSM, though? Because they pulled a lot of the same tools that they had from game 1 in the Rakan, a lot of engaged tools, and things didn't work out the way they planned.
Yeah, well, I haven't got a chance to play too much League, but when I've been playing Gnar. And Gnar on the top side for him seemed to work out pretty well.
Yeah, game 1 Gnar, Hauntzer's a big fan of that champion.
Maybe they go back to that.
Speaking of which, you say you haven't played much recently. Where are you resting right now in terms of elo?
Resting in silver.
Okay,
So
I
not doing
heard
too
He
well.
was flat
I was gonna
last.
say I've heard you've been as high as plat, right?
I was flat. I was
Okay.
flat, but during the NBA season, it's hard for me to play, so I decayed.
got-
Yeah,
His
priorities.
priorities straight.
I don't know.
So you're gonna have to
League.
get back to league.
Back to league, yeah.
Yeah, some
back to
people
league.
some people in this arena might question your priorities, but I think we understand entirely. Gentlemen, looking ahead to Game 3 though here, what do we want to see out of TSM on the bounce back? They're going to get side selection. Both teams have prioritized the blue side here. Is it as simple as looking for more proactive picks for someone like Hauntzer in the top lane with the way that Flame performed here in Game 2?
I mean, I personally think the draft was fine in that regard out of TSM here. I think this is much more of a playstyle adjustment where, like, if you take the counter pick of Renekton to J4, you can't get killed under your turret level 4. So there's going to need to be better communication between him and Sven to make sure that that's not happening, or just better individual play so he's not giving up the push.
And I'd look at Svenskeren in particular because I do think he was outmatched pretty heavily by Xmithie in this game. I think that, you know, if you're going to have him on a later game jungler, they need to play more around him. They need to actually protect him and help him get to that stage where he is going to be more effective, or put him on something a little bit more early game so we can match Xmithie and perhaps stop him from falling behind.
Now I want to talk about the athlete's mindset. Since we've got a professional athlete on the desk, how do you operate, or rather work with your team within these best of fives when the momentum is shifting this way and that way? I mean, recently, just this year, you knocked out the Clippers in a 7-game series, so that had its own fair share of momentum
That's
swings.
right.
What does a coach do to help you in those moments?
Well, I think you look at what you did well. And so you look at the first game, say, what did we do well in this game? Let's try to emulate that. Then you look at the second game and say, what did we do not so well? Try to stay away from that. So it was pretty basic, especially for us. That's kind of what we did. And
Right. Are there any unique differences between League of Legends and basketball, as you could see them maybe at the pro level, where you really have to make a departure from a mentality that you have as a basketball player to work better in a video game?
Well, I think the difference for me at the pro level is mental. It's all like you got to be able to forget what happened in the past and move forward. Whether it was good, whether it was bad, you move on to what the next task.
Right.
Same thing, I'm sure, in League of Legends. The pros are able to forget and move forward.
Yeah, I mean, you can just look at Immortals from Game 1 to Game 2. They made some mistakes with their plays in the bot lane. This time, Cody Sun and Olleh really bounced back and have a great game.
All right, now both of these guys gave their prediction for TSM at the top of the day. I had Darshan in your position over there rooting for Immortals. It's now essentially a best of 3, evened up at 1-1. Who do you think is going to take it and become the champions of North America?
I got to root for Immortals here.
Woo!
Got to root for Immortals.
Anyone else agree?
Seems like there's a couple fans in the house.
I was going to say it's because their colors are shared with the Celtics, right? You got
Yeah,
the green,
all the green
the
people,
green
yeah.
sea in the background. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Why is it that you think Immortals has what it takes to upset the perennial powerhouses in TSM?
Well, I just think that for them, they got nothing to lose here. Going against the favorite, the underdogs. Got to have that spirit. Got to have the fight.
Momentum just swung in their favor, so we'll see if they can carry it through here into Game 3. Once again, Gordon Hayward, thank you so much for joining us on the NLCS, and best of luck in the next season of basketball here in Boston. We're going to step away, but the series is tied up. See if TSM can fight back versus Immortals in Game 3. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the North American LCS Finals.